16th anniversary of SIP. And just before I start with my commerce in transition, and Max actually asked me if I could do this, and you tried to bring it back to what I was doing with online banking and POS and ATMs and all that other stuff. And I went through 3 different presentations with all kinds of stats, and when I looked at it, I'm like, I'm going to put you all to sleep. So with tonight, I'm going to really be talking about how the internet has and is changing everything we do. And I just want to go a little bit back in time. I'm going to try and use this now. There we go. So I'm going to change the topic a little bit more, and I'm going to talk about commerce a bit, but more about web in transition. How many people are familiar with Web 2.0? Do you know there was a 1.0? And do you know there's a 3.0? So I'm going to talk a bit about that. It's the transition of when we started on the internet to where we are sort of ending, and there's still a little bit going on there, and where we are now, and talk a little bit about that. So, the early days of internet. How many people here had dial-up? Wow. I'm surprised. There's not very many youngins here. I'm the guy there with the oh boy, because I was one of the first 300,000 people signing up on the internet. And I thought it was great. I had my 14K baud modem, and I was like doing downloads for I don't know what, and it was only like 300,000 people on the internet at the time, so I was like, oh wow. And then you fast forward a bit, like 10 years, when my son was born, and he's going, dial-up? What's that, Dad? To even the search engines, they're very basic. Back then you had Yahoo, Excite, MSN, and they were all directory driven. They didn't really scour the web for information. If you're a website owner, you had to put your information into the directory, then go through some approval process, and then if they approved you, they put you on the main page. If not, you were buried 10 pages deep, and nobody could really find you. And that was before the time SIP even invented search engine optimization. The shopping cart was very basic. No real product info, no reviews, no ratings, no nothing. Shipping was very costly. I remember ordering my first notebook over the internet in 1997. I think it was about $3,000. And the shipping was $120, and it would be 2 weeks. And I'm like, but this is coming from Toronto. Anyway, I used to live in Hamilton back then. And then the credit card information wasn't very safe. There was no real standards, no guidelines, no nothing. So you heard almost every day something getting hacked, something getting hacked, something getting hacked. And then Web 2.0 came along. Actually, Darcy DiNucci coined the term back in 1999, about the same time I came up with Use My Services. And I actually attended the presentation by Tim O'Reilly at a conference in San Francisco where he popularized 2.0 as the mashup and aggregation of services on the net. So if you think about all the things that were happening, everybody had their own little websites, and now the web is starting to grow and started bringing it together, sort of like what John was talking about today, like all the information coming together eventually. Speaking of that, my staff is still trying to figure out how somebody looked up her on Skype and found her picture. She's never put it on Skype. Well, it turns out it was through Google. So that's what we do. We actually connect all the banks in 41 countries in one button so that the consumer can come in here and click on whichever bank they want to do and make a purchase in real time to the merchant. So we aggregate all these banks. We match them up. So we're pretty much a Web 2.0. Also in Web 2.0, from dial-up, now we're broadband. And broadband's really there everywhere now, but if you look at it, mobile is actually surpassing broadband now. Nobody's using broadband anymore. It's dying. Mobile's taking over. And the search engines. Oh, I love our search engines. They've gone through a lot of transitions from directories now to Google searching everything from everywhere. And everybody followed suit. So now not only does Yahoo have eliminated their directory for the most part, they've followed what Google does, scouring all the web and giving you the information. The shopping cart has become integrated. Now you've got reviews, ratings, opinions, product info, more than you can ever imagine. The payments have gotten easier and simplified, and actually safer. We've now got a standard called PCI that PayPal is actually one of the ones that pushed it because they were actually storing the credit card information. And so they've actually institutionalized the whole concept of putting a user ID and password and having everything stored in the background. And PCI is just a byproduct of that fighting through the whole hacker-safe hacker community. Everything became consolidated. Kayak was one of the first examples of taking all the airlines' websites and mashing them up and aggregating them into one website. Before that, all the websites in Travel Legends, I don't know how many people know this, but we're using Sabre and Amadeus. And all that stuff is pre-booked by the different travel companies and flights and hotels. Kayak bypassed all that, started aggregating and mashing up all the airlines. To the point where now airlines know this is going on, and they're now only trying to pick the customers that aren't coming from Kayak to give them the specials. Delivery got faster and way cheaper. All kinds of options now, including recently, I don't know how many people have noticed, but Walmart and Amazon are now offering same-day delivery for $10. So that same computer I bought for $5,097, I can now buy for $300 and have it shipped. As a matter of fact, I can buy 10 of them. Payments got expanded, and boy, did they expand. Everything into wallets, prepaid cards, virtual currencies. How many heard about Bitcoin last week? Crazy, isn't it? And that's still not sure if it's going to take off. That's about the 10th or 11th iteration of virtual currencies on the net. So it's going to be interesting to see. But a lot of them, and we're also in there, a lot of them we now start cooperating. Instead of competing, we're all using each other's services to go after the market share. So that's another thing that's happening. Registration got simplified. No longer did you have to go through all these forms and fill out your name and your address and your thing. Most websites are now starting to integrate with Facebook or Google or OpenID, where you just provide your user ID and password and permission, and they'll pull all the information on you. Just like John was mentioning, Google's doing this a lot. So that's why you're seeing now a lot of websites are not even bothering with asking for that information. They'll have a link, and you'll notice you can create your own and fill it out. But why bother? And consumers are shopping online more and more. This is just a stat from 2008, and I've seen stats for 2013. They already blow these numbers away. To the point where in 2010, e-commerce became the 10th largest retail space globally, behind Canada and ahead of Russia. I haven't found a stat for 2012 or 13, but think about that. It's now surpassing all brick and mortar globally. So what's Web 3.0? It's the ubiquitousness. And I got this definition from the dictionary. It's basically existing or being everywhere, especially at the same time, omnipresent. I was actually in a call with one of the third largest processor on Monday, globally, of e-checks. And he was talking about omni-channel. Basically, what we used to say in the 90s and early 2000s as multi-channel, now everything's everywhere. Oops, sorry. Things are connected to services, are connected to people, and people are connected back again. So now you've got mobile devices, tablets, PCs, pretty soon, well, even wristwatches, and pretty soon your fridge and everything. It's all going to be connected. And it's coming. It's already here. Think about photo sharing. 5 years ago, in 2009, there's less than 10 million photos uploaded. And within 5 years, now 500 million a day being uploaded and shared. And it's there instantly. It's on my phone, it's on my tablet, it's on my PC. Doesn't matter. It's going to get me. It's everywhere, omnipresent. Another byproduct of this is the text messaging. In 2006, less than, 100 million texts in a quarter in Canada? And within 12 years, we now have 25 billion texts going through the Canadian telephone system. And you can see why it's happening. Last night, my wife went to Hamilton to visit her sister because she's now announcing her baby's sex. And only the brothers and sisters were there. So all their husbands and wives were at home, including me, taking care of the kids. And all of a sudden, I found out what the kid is. Oh, do you want to know? Yes. Okay. What is it? Do you want to know now? Yes. No. Okay. And the same dialogue happened with my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my other sister-in-law. So you can just think about all those life events that are now happening, and they're all getting communicated everywhere, every time, omnipresent. Even to the point now where the retailers are doing the same thing. Back in the 90s, trying to convince Canadian Tire, and I told you, one of the bios I work with Canadian Tire, you gotta go online, you gotta do things, you gotta get the shopping cart going, and they're like, oh, we don't know if it's gonna work. Now they don't even question it. They've got mobile applications for the smartphone, the mobile, the tablet, you name it. They don't even question it anymore. They know it's gonna take off. They know the internet's there. They know everybody's looking. So if you're not the one there, you're gonna lose market share. The other thing that 3.0 has done is accelerated growth, and oh boy, has it accelerated it. The radio took 38 years for 50 million users. Internet, 4 years. I think it was actually a little faster, but that's according to this stuff. But you think about it now, draw something, and I was one of those 50 million in the 50 days. How many know what draw something is? How many were one of the 50 million? A few of you. It died after, but think about it. If it wasn't for the social media and everything that was around it, it wouldn't have taken off. But literally, 50 days, 50 million people. That's a lot of hits. And this is the main reason. There's over 3 billion of us just doing social media. Never mind all the other websites. Facebook in the Western society. Europe, US, North America, and somewhat Latin America. They have their own stuff. But you look at it, there's over 1 billion people in that. And then you look at the Asia Pacific rim, and there's WeChat and QQ. They're almost the same size, another 1 billion. And then you add all the other ones, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, everything else. You got 3 billion people online sharing information, and it's going across everything. If you post something on Facebook, it goes to Instagram, it goes to Flickr, it goes to, you name it. So, Society of Internet Professionals, people that are supposed to be demonstrate a commitment to the professionalism of subscribing to the CIP's Code of Ethics and building the internet with credibility and everything else. How are you going to make it ubiquitous? How are you going to continue this trend? How are you going to jump on board if you haven't done already? Sounds like John's already done it. He realizes that's here. But you take all these ideas, all these thoughts, all these senses, and that's why I put this diagram up here. It's sort of the thinking processes that's going on. Ray Kurzweil talks about this in Intelligence Machines, and he talks about how the machines are going to start thinking for us. Well, we have to program it. That's what you have to do. You're the internet people. You're the Society of the Internet Professionals. So how are you going to make this happen? Because it's going to happen whether you do it or not. Somebody else is going to come along. So with that, I'm done tonight. I'd like to thank Max again for inviting me. I'd like to thank you all for coming. And I think I've left like a minute or two for questions if you have any. Otherwise, thank you very much.